Malik Washington will end up being a top 5 QB in the Big Ten.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Trey Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys all for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code Locked On College at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Malik Washington at the end of the 2025 season, I think, will be recognized going into next year as a top 5 QB in the Big Ten. So basically, my point is, after this season, we're going to recognize Malik Washington as one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the Big Ten. I think that's how we're going to see him after this year. And basically, I think he's going to have a top 5 campaign. It might not be like exactly like he's in the top 5, but like a top 6 or 7 quarterback. But going into next year, after some of the top guys leave and after some of the portal stuff hits, I think we'll recognize Malik as a top 5 quarterback in the Big Ten. The more and more I'm kind of reading about the quarterbacks and looking at the Big Ten as a conference, and everybody needs a quarterback, obviously. Some people recognize the Big Ten is the best conference right now. At the top, you could argue it is, with Penn State arguably being the best team in the country this year. Ohio State, of course, as well, just won the national championship. Oregon's been really good. Oregon was the number 1 team in the country last year. There's a lot of talent right now in the Big Ten. Even some of the medium-sized schools or schools that are in the middle of the pack are starting to develop into really solid programs like Indiana, like Illinois. But everyone knows that you're going to need a quarterback. And it can be the difference between you winning 5 games and you winning 8 games, or you winning 8 games and you making the playoff, or you making the playoff and you winning the national championship. That's what a quarterback can do to a roster. And there's good ones in the Big Ten. Don't get me wrong. But I think Maryland's Malik Washington is going to end up after this year going to be a top 5 QB in the country. Just the way I see it is, I don't think this quarterback conference is as good as like the SEC. I think it's pretty good, filled with a bunch of young guys, but don't get it twisted. Malik Washington is going to be as good as anyone. Out of all the young guys that are good players that we're looking at, I really do think that Malik Washington is going to be known as one of the better ones. And I think he's going to go in and we're already going to realize he's a top 7 or 8 guy in the conference as a freshman, which a lot of people might not like him. A lot of people might not believe in, but I really believe it. I just think there's 2 things that separate Malik Washington right now. And it's 2 things that are just the biggest part of being a quarterback in terms of just physical tool sets. Forget all the mental, the leadership, all those different things, and just pure physical tool sets. The way Malik Washington can throw the football, his arm strength, the throws that he can make on the field, you're not really supposed to make. Like the average human, even the average quarterback in the Big Ten or in the SEC or in the ACC or the Big 12, whatever the case is, whatever conference you watch, the average quarterback cannot make some of the throws that Malik Washington makes on a daily basis for Maryland football. And you see it in practice. You saw it in the spring game. There's a zip on the ball. There's the way that the ball can get to. It's NFL stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, that guy has a chance to play on Sundays if everything else goes right. And so you instantly think top quarterbacks in the NFL, they all have a special arm and they all have certain type of capabilities with their arm, whether it's kind of an accuracy, whether it's arm strength, being able to make throws all over the field, that separate them and making them into really elite quarterbacks for a lot of them. Like, no matter how good you think Patrick Mahomes is, if Patrick Mahomes didn't have that type of arm that he has, he's not as good of a quarterback. Or a guy like Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. There's a lot of guys just with top-end arms. And I'm not saying he's got quite a Justin Herbert arm, but he's got a big-time arm, which I think really will allow him to be one of the top QBs in the Big Ten. And the second part in today's college football that you look at, It's athleticism. He's one of the best athletes out of the quarterbacks in the Big Ten. He is. I've seen him in person play basketball, and on the basketball court, he was the best athlete out there. He was like 6'4", playing center for his high school Spalding. I was watching it, and I was like, he's jumping out of the gym, like had clearly the highest vertical, most athletic kid on the court. And there were some high-level athletes on the court. So when you switch over to a sport like basketball, and it's not like he's like a DB or a safety running around where we're like, okay, you expect him to be a top athlete for whatever sport. He's a quarterback. And yeah, it's transition now that a lot of quarterbacks are athletic and can do different things. But his athleticism, it's very much going to be a component of this Maryland football team that I think is going to be really big and really important for the Terps. But the way he runs, the way he can accelerate, how elusive he is in the size. It's also the size component of things. It's just not like an everyday type of thing at 6'3" or whatever you want to call the kid. He's a tall kid for sure. I would list him about 6'3", 6'4". It's just not your everyday thing. And he combines arm talent with raw athleticism running the football. That gets you a big reason why I think he's going to end up being a top guy in the Big Ten after this year. And there's a lot of big young names. There's a lot of big young names in the Big Ten. But I think he's going to end up being better than a lot of them. So we can talk about comparing him to some of the other guys now too. So I read this CBS article as I was looking through things that came out about a couple weeks ago, about 3 weeks old, I think. And they ranked the Big Ten quarterbacks this year, and they had Malik Washington at 15. They said Washington wrapped the 2025 recruiting cycle ranked by 247 as the number 5 QB in the class. 247's director of scouting, Andrew Ivins, compared him to former Tennessee quarterback and NFL journeyman Josh Dobbs. He could shine against a schedule that starts off and does not include Penn State, Ohio State, or Oregon. But as with any true freshman, the reins to a Power 4 offense don't go overboard with the expectations. Which is kind of funny, which is kind of ironic because I'm probably going a little bit overboard with the expectations. But I just don't think people realize quite how good he is. So they have him ranked 15th. Remember, there's 18 teams in the Big Ten. They have the kid at Minnesota, Drake Lindsay, at 18. They have Ryan Brown at Purdue. And then they have this kid at Rutgers at 16. Not going to touch too much about the people behind him. But then they have this kid, Preston Stone at Northwestern, who's 14, who lost his job last year at SMU, was supposed to actually be like a high-level quarterback for SMU until he lost it to Kevin Jennings. I think Malik could be better than Preston Stone. There's a reason Preston Stone lost his job. He did have a season-ending leg injury, but they were already kind of going back and forth at SMU. He did lead SMU to a 10-win season, but I honestly think when I look at the talent, when I look at Preston Stone play, and I've seen him play a little bit, I think Malik's going to be better than him. So that's another spot. And then at 13, they have Billy Edwards for Wisconsin. You can't tell me you guys don't think Malik Washington's not going to be better than Billy Edwards. And I liked Billy Edwards, but there's a reason why Billy Edwards left. There's a reason why nobody really was too upset when Billy Edwards was gone. It's because we knew we had this kid waiting in the wings. We knew we had this kid, this talented kid, Malik Washington, coming in that is going to end up being a really good player. So, yeah, I like Billy Edwards, but after this season, we're going to consider Malik Washington a better player than Billy Edwards. And I don't know. I think Billy only has. I think this is. I guess okay. So they have him listed as a junior on CBS. So I guess he has one more year after this. But after this year, we are definitely going to put. We're going to put Malik Washington ahead of Billy Edwards after this year. I really believe that the type of year that Malik is going to have. They have this kid, Mark Gronowski at Iowa, decent player, but he's been playing at FCS, and he's won FCS national titles being a dual threat quarterback. But you know what I mean? He had a 4-year stint as a starter, so he's definitely up there in terms of age. I just think Malik, he's going to be gone after next year. So when I consider Malik, I do think Malik's more talented, the better player. There's a reason he was at FCS for 4 years, not like 1 year. Like some guys are really talented. It's like after 1 year, like, oh yeah, kid's obviously supposed to be playing high level, like a kid like Cam Ward, or there's guys that go under recruited, but we realized pretty early that they went under recruited. Like he played 4 years of FCS. That's a lot of time. And I just think Malik is going to end up being have a better season than him at Iowa, who I would say similar on paper as Maryland. Now, this is where it starts to get really interesting because these are the guys I want to talk about, and I probably need to speed up a little bit. But Aiden Childs at Michigan State, I honestly think Malik has the upper hand. Malik was so inaccurate last year. He was just so inconsistent. I like the kid. I like the talent. I know he's a former 4-star recruit. I think Malik's going to be better than Aiden Childs. Call me crazy. Now, the top 10 is when you start to, everyone's going to kind of have their own opinion, I think. Dante Moore at Oregon, obviously highly, highly rated recruit, transferred into Oregon, now has the starting gig. I think it'll be close. Oregon has more talent, so Dante might have a better stat, like a better record, obviously, at Oregon. But I think we're going to look at Malik as a tad better than Dante. But that one could be close, could go either way. Then you have Jaden Mayava at USC. He's also really talented. I think that one will be close. He looked good in UC at USC's back end of the schedule, but he turned over the ball a good amount. But he does have some talent. I think that's when it gets kind of close. But I do kind of see Malik having the edge over him. Bryce Underwood, I'll give you guys Bryce Underwood and Dylan Raiola. I'll give you guys those guys. But Nico Iamaleava, I know I'm not saying that exactly right. He was overrated last year. Not even overrated. Like, he just wasn't that good. I don't know if you guys watched Tennessee football last year. He wasn't that good. And I think everyone thought this kid was going to be really good. And I think this year at UCLA, it's going to show up more that he's not as good as a lot of people think he's going to be. Then there's guys like Demon Williams at Washington, who's good, but I just think Malik long-term is going to be better. Luke Altmaier, I'm pretty sure Luke Altmaier's in his last year, so even though this year he'll have a better year than Malik, he'll be gone. For Fernando Mendoza as well, people think he could be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. Like, he's going to be gone after this year. And then there's there's one guy at the top. They have Julian Sayin. That'll be close. I'll give Julian Sayin that edge. I think Julian Sayin is going to be a really good quarterback. And then Drew Aller will be gone after this year. So you know what I mean? My point is, I'm not saying he's necessarily going to have a top 5 quarterback production standpoint this year. I think he'll be around the top 10. I do think heading into next year, which is kind of crazy we're talking about next year, but you guys know what I mean. After this full season, we're going to be like, yeah, that kid, the top 5 quarterback heading into next year and the Big Ten. And don't forget, like, I think he's going to be better than Talia. Talia was always in like the top 5-ish quarterbacks in the Big Ten after his first stint at Maryland. Like, he got all Big Ten second team. Like, he was definitely up there. So I definitely think that's interesting. Some Maryland players got awards. We'll talk about that next, what they mean coming up. If you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you needed a service. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need Open Phone. So you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customers' communications. Do you juggle 2 phones just to keep a business and personal call separate? Open Phone solves that instantly. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more who's handling this. And an AI agent handles after-hour calls, answers common questions, and captures leads, so I never miss a customer again. See why over 60,000 business trust Open Phone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnCollege. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnCollege. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you, and you can link all your accounts in minutes. See clear data visuals and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel control of your money without ever touching the spreadsheets. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using it. Monarch makes it super simple to review your finances with your partner as well. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. So there was a really this story continues to get really interesting for Maryland football. Sydney Stewart got named to the 247 freshman All-American, like preseason All-American list. So this Sydney Stewart thing went from low key to now everybody seems to know about this secret about Sydney Stewart, which I was kind of hoping going into the year it was kept on the low, but it's quickly blown up. And the fact that he's getting stuff like preseason freshman awards like that on the all freshman team, like that's a pretty big deal. There's a ton of edge rushers that are ranked highly and ranked above him that are probably going to have an impact. So the fact we're seeing Sydney Stewart go to Maryland and be on some of these lists shows that it might even be a bigger type of impact than we even expected from Sydney Stewart. I think we thought, okay, we're hearing good things. He'll probably end up being pretty solid for Maryland, like a good player for a good player for a freshman, but nothing crazy. Like, some freshmen come in and it's like, whoa, that like Jeremiah Smith or Caleb Downs when he was at Alabama, or Ryan Williams, you guys know the name, or like let's think about guys at his position group, like Dylan Stewart last year, South Carolina, DMV kid. I remember we recruited him. I think there's some guys that come in and they're instantly like, who on earth is that? Who's that guy? And to me, we didn't think Dylan Stewart was going to be that. But the more and more and more stuff that keeps coming out on this kid and all these articles and all these different segments and these awards, him being all Big Ten freshman to watch and him being preseason All-American on 247's freshman team, like that's some pretty big stuff. I'm like, is this kid going to be like a Dylan Stewart type of impact? Are we going to look at this kid and be like, yeah, that's the next big thing? And I'm starting to think so. I don't think he's quite going to be what Dylan Stewart was last year. Like Dylan Stewart's insanely talented. Like the edge, coming off the edge and the bend that he gets, like it was just a different thing over there at South Carolina for him. And I don't think Sydney Stewart's quite that. But he's going to be a starting edge for Maryland football, which already shows you're a really good player. I think he's going to give us some production, though, that we've really been lacking. So I can see him getting 5-6 sacks, which I think is a pretty good number for the Big Ten. I'm not expecting him to be like, oh, like that guy's like, oh, they'll be like, oh, Dylan Stewart's like a top 20 returning guy in college football. I don't expect it to be that, but I expect next year going into him to be known to be like a preseason third team All Big Ten heading into next year, second team as a sophomore, which is a pretty big deal. So I do think he's going to have a huge impact. I still kind of haven't seen it because I'm not at practice and the games obviously haven't started. But those first 3 games are going to be huge to kind of getting an idea of it because it's going to be against teams, whether it's FAU, Towson, Northern Illinois, that are solid teams. But those are teams you should be able to do some stuff again. So it's really interesting with him getting this freshman preseason award. There's some really big names on that list. And if he was the only Maryland guy, you sometimes think Malik Washington might get it, but he didn't. I think Bryce Underwood did. So it is interesting, but that's just how I see it. We'll see exactly what happens, though. But it's definitely interesting. Let's talk about this new Maryland football recruit that I think could be a huge add, even though he's a while out. We'll talk about that next. August 26th is officially FanDuel Features Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before Week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP, choose Caleb Williams, or crown your champion in August, and maybe choose the Ravens or the Commanders, or parlay your division winner dark horses. Visit FanDuel app today and start playing your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and only one day only. FanDuel, play your game. This episode is brought to you by PrizePick, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up and college football isn't far behind. Whether you've got your eye on a big-name quarterback or breakout running backs, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the game. You can choose guys like Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. I've used PrizePicks for a few seasons now and love how simple it is, and I can get a lineup in before my coffee finishes brewing. Play the option is a total game changer. Even when one of your picks misses, you still double your money. Download PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, run your game. So let's talk about this new edge in the 2027 class that I think could be a really nice add for Maryland football. Obviously, it's a while away, but there's this kid, James Pace III, that I'm looking at that is a 2027, goes to DeMatha, which is in the WCAC, one of the powerhouses for Maryland football recruiting. One of the big places that we're going to get a lot of different players from, whether it's DeMatha, St. John's, Gonzaga, like those are the schools, Good Counsel, all those DC schools, those are like the main ones in the WCAC. And this kid, James Pace, looks like he's the next really good edge to come out of the DMV. And so he's 6'2.5", 225. So it's kind of funny that we've been talking about Sidney Stewart because he looks like kind of a similar build as Sidney Stewart, which is interesting because they're not like the tallest guys in the world. But sometimes when you get some of these shorter players, they just have such bend that they can get around the edge with that a lot of guys just can't do because they're a little bit shorter. They can get lower to the ground, where some of these taller guys, they're too sturdy. They don't have the same bend. They don't have the same flexibility coming off the edge that they're actually easier to block than some people get caught up in, oh, he's 6'6", but sometimes that 6'2" guy curling around can get things done. And I think we're seeing that a little bit with Sidney Stewart. So James Pace III, to go off of that, looks like he's a similar type of player. Has a lot of good offers for sure already. He has like Alabama, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Maryland, obviously, Miami, South Carolina, Syracuse, and the list kind of goes on. But to me, we obviously separate ourselves because we're a DMV school. So that's going to be a big part of this. I do want to see us add more guys like this, edge guys, 4-star rated prospects that are going to end up being really good players. But I think we have to put more of a track record of developing and elite guys off the edge showing that they're good players, because right now I feel like we haven't had a huge track record of it, but somehow we've still been able to recruit guys, get guys here that are high-level edges like we got. Forget in terms of actual recruiting rankings, forget a guy like Sidney Stewart, 6'6", coming off the edge that we have really high expectations for. Think he's going to be a really good player. Or a guy like Zion Ely, 5-star in the 2026 class that everyone's excited for. Everyone thinks is the next big thing, and obviously I do too. He's a top 3 rated player, arguably the best player in the class, depending on where you look. Doesn't get past like 1, 2, or 3, I think, so out of St. Francis. And so we've done a better job of recruiting that position, but we haven't put a huge track record of, oh, that guy goes to the NFL. Like the receiver position, it's like, oh yeah, Ty Felton, Cannon Prather, Rakeem Jarrett, and then it's like guys like in the way past it, DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, like guys have been good in the NFL, and guys are fighting for roster spots. Like Jayshon Jones is fighting for a roster spot with the Vikings. Like there's been players that have been good. And then you got corners, like you have different players like Deontay Banks, Jacorian Bennett just got traded to the Eagles, looks good. So there's a bunch of different players in the secondary. Dante Trader, Bo Bray, like there's a lot of different guys in the NFL today. But edge, we don't have those. I like recent guys, like I don't know what edge has actually had. I can't name a guy. And so I think we're starting to get back into it, and I think these are really important players, and I hope we're able to stay in a battle for James Pace. He's ranked 4-star, like I said, ranked 71st nationally according to 247. 247 composite has an 87, so top 100, a top 5 player in Maryland. So definitely a guy that we're going to end up wanting to get, but we'll see what ends up happening. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.